Welcome to the Explainer. Look, today we're unlocking a 160-year-old medical secret that, honestly, fundamentally shifts how we understand and, more importantly, how we actually heal chronic illness. If you've ever felt completely trapped in that endless cycle of just managing symptoms, get ready, because we're going to dive right beneath the surface to uncover the true root cause of cellular decay and figure out how to literally reverse it. Real quick, here's our roadmap. We're going to cover this 16-year medical secret, then look at the fish tank paradigm. After that, we'll dive into a case of chronic failure, map out the 3 biological failures, talk about restoring corrupted biological communication, and finally, wrap up with rebooting the operating system. Okay, let's jump straight into part 1, the 160-year medical secret, suppressed terrain science. So let's trace this back to the 1850s. French physiologist Claude Bernard proposed this radical idea that our internal environment is what actually dictates our health. Fast forward to the 1860s, and Antoine Béchamp expands on this. He calls it terrain theory, basically proving that disease only emerges when this internal terrain loses its integrity. Then we get to 1895. Louis Pasteur, the literal father of germ theory, the whole foundation of modern conventional medicine, makes an absolutely stunning deathbed confession. We'll get to that in a second. And capping it off in 1931, Dr. Otto Warburg wins the Nobel Prize for proving that disease takes root when cellular energy fails. What does all this history tell us? It proves that the internal cellular environment, not the external pathogen, is what actually dictates whether we get sick or stay well. And here's that confession I mentioned. Bernard was right. The germ is nothing. The terrain is everything. Pasteur himself, on his deathbed, admitted his rival had it right the whole time. The cellular terrain is the absolute true governor of health. So you might be wondering, why don't we hear about this? Well, the medical industry largely ignored this confession because, let's be real, managing symptoms forever is just a much more profitable model than actually restoring the terrain. Which brings us to part 2, the fish tank paradigm, rethinking how we treat disease. To really visualize this, think of your body as a giant fish tank, right? And your cells are the fish. Conventional medicine basically focuses on drugging the sick fish. You're just managing symptoms with pharmaceuticals, while leaving the water entirely toxic. Terrain theory totally flips that. It focuses on filtering and cleaning the water itself. That's root cause healing. When you clean the cellular water, the fish just heal naturally. No drugs, just a restored environment doing exactly what healthy environments do. Let's move on to part 3, a case of chronic failure when the terrain collapses. Let's make this super concrete. Consider a 50-year-old entrepreneur who's dealing with type 2 diabetes, severe chronic fatigue, just crippling post-meal energy crashes, and constant brain fog. Now, conventional medicine looks at this and sees completely separate diseases, handing out a different prescription for every single one. But if we look through the lens of terrain science, these aren't separate diseases at all. No way. They are interconnected manifestations of a completely polluted internal environment. All right, moving to part 4, the 3 biological failures, the exact sequence of breakdown. This is so crucial. Every chronic disease, including our entrepreneur's diabetes and fatigue, strictly follows a cascading sequence of 3 biological failures. Step 1 is the fire. That's systemic inflammation. Step 2 is the broken fuel line, which is insulin resistance. And step 3 is dead batteries, basically a severe ATP shortage. Let's break down exactly how this sequence hijacks your biology. It all starts with the fire. Imagine your immune system's emergency alarm getting stuck in the on position. It becomes this silent body-wide blaze where inflammatory cytokines just absolutely flood your system. And these cytokines, they act like microscopic shrapnel. They are physically jamming the communication hardware and the cellular receptor locks all throughout your body. And because of that fire, we slam right into failure number 2, the broken fuel line. Because of all that inflammatory debris, your cells effectively put on noise-canceling headphones. The insulin receptor locks on the outside of your cells are literally glued shut. So insulin is standing there knocking at the door, trying to deliver fuel, but the cells are completely deaf to the signal. This means your cells are literally starving to death while swimming in a glucose-rich bloodstream. That right there is the true mechanism behind type 2 diabetes and that profound brain fog. Naturally, that starvation triggers failure number 3, dead batteries. We're talking total energy bankruptcy here. Every single cell in your body runs on ATP, the cellular energy produced by your mitochondria. Without fuel from the broken line, these cellular power plants just fail. And it gets worse. As they fail, they begin leaking more reactive oxidative shrapnel. And what does that do? it turns right around and reignites the fire. So this creates a continuous biological death spiral. The fire leads to the broken fuel line, which leads to dead batteries, which creates more oxidative stress that feeds right back into the fire. This is exactly why treating just one symptom never works. It's like a giant puzzle where the cycle just keeps spinning. So, how do we fix it? That's part 5, restoring corrupted biological communication, fixing the walkie-talkies. So, how do we actually break this vicious cycle and restore that corrupted communication? Well, we have to address all 3 failures at the exact same time. We have to give the cellular walkie-talkies, those signaling molecules your body inherently uses to communicate, the crystal clear signals they need to organize a massive repair effort. We orchestrate this healing through a specific triad of solutions. First, diet. We use a clean metabolic baseline to clear out systemic waste and actually clean the metabolic terrain. Second, supplements. We provide the essential micronutrient raw materials that your mitochondria desperately need to get the assembly line running again. And third, signaling molecules. We introduce specific, naturally occurring short-chain peptides to act as those walkie-talkies. They clear the static, unjam the receptor locks, and send precise repair instructions directly to your cells. We aren't forcing some unnatural chemical reaction here. We are simply restoring your body's own communication network. And that brings us to our final section, rebooting the operating system, returning to homeostasis. Listen, healing is not some wild treatment claim. Homeostasis is your body's natural default state. By systematically addressing the chaos of those 3 biological failures all at once, you are no longer in a state of managed decline. You aren't just tricking a lab test to look better. Your biology simply remembers how to restore itself, because finally the terrain is clean. Think of it like a biological operating system upgrade. It's literally like installing new software that tells your system exactly how to turn on its own repair processes. You are upgrading your human biology to a version that's actively resistant to the decay of modern life. The cellular hardware was always there. We just had to fix the corrupted software signals. I want to leave you with this provocative thought. If your internal terrain is the true governor of your health, what incredible healing is possible when you finally give your body the right instructions. Just think about what your own biology is truly capable of achieving once those corrupt signals are finally silenced. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and I really encourage you to start looking at your health and your potential through the lens of your biological terrain.